दीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजम् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेनैके अमृतत्वमानशुः परेण नाकम् निहितम् गुहायाम् विभ्राजते तद्यतयो विशन्ति वेदान्त विज्ञान सुनिश्चितार्थ सन्न्यास योगाद्यतयः शुद्धसत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोके तु परान्तकाले परामृता परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे दह्रम् विपापम् परमेष्वभूतं यत्पुण्डरीकम् पुरमद्य सग्गुस्तम् तत्रापि दह्रम् गगनम् विशोकस्तस्मिन् यदन्तस्तदुपासितव्यम् यो वेदादौ स्वरः प्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिलीनस्य यः परः स महेश्वरः ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
Om Shri Sai Ram. My most reverential salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Mother Sai, respected director sir, teachers, research scholars, and dear brothers, a loving Sai Ram to one and all. It is my privilege and joy to introduce our speaker for today's moral class session, Dr. Debarshi De. Dr. Debarshi De is currently the Vice President and Head of Data Science at Galapagos in the Netherlands, and a global leader in data science and biostatistics with over 15 years of experience in the field of healthcare and drug development. His professional journey has taken him across leading organizations, including Novartis, Livonova, Morphosis, and now Galapagos, where he has played a pivotal role in shaping strategies that help accelerate the development of life-saving medicines. With a PhD in applied statistics from the University of California, Riverside, and strong academic roots from Calcutta University, Dr. De has led international teams across Europe, the United States, and Asia. His work has contributed to regulatory approvals from global bodies such as the FDA and EMA, ultimately impacting patient care and advancing medical science worldwide. Yet, beyond these remarkable professional accomplishments, what makes today's session truly special is the spiritual dimension he brings with him. As a member of the Sai fraternity, Dr. De has drawn inspiration from Swami's teachings in both his personal and professional life. His journey reflects how values such as clarity, courage, compassion, and integrity, so lovingly taught by Swami, can guide decision-making even in the most complex and demanding environments. Today, he will be speaking on the topic, Living with Clarity and Courage, Swami's framework for today's world. Through this talk, he will share reflections from his own experiences and how Swami's guidance has shaped his path and perspective in navigating life's challenge. I'm sure that this session will offer us not only thoughtful insights, but also practical inspiration for our own lives. With these very few words, please join me in welcoming Dr. Debarshi De. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. My most loving pranams at Bhagavan's lotus feet, and I pray to Swami to speak through me today. Makes me a little nervous to stand in front of Swami's chair and give a speech to all of you. Also my regards to all the faculty, the research scholars, and my dear students. So as brother just mentioned, I have a degree in statistics, and what I have been doing for the last 15 years is drug development. So many of you have taken medicines, or your relatives, but I think we seldom think how did these medicines come to the market in our pharmacies that the doctors prescribe. So what we do to get new medicines to the patients is something called clinical trials. So we do randomized clinical trials where we treat patients with the new drugs that should be approved, and we give another bunch of patients the standard of care. One is called the treatment group, the other is called the control group. And then we follow them up for some time, and then in the end, we collect data to see if the treatment is benefiting more than the standard of care. So this is, in simple terms, what we do. So whenever I come to Perthi, especially the last few months, and this time I've been here for almost 4.5 weeks because of the war. I was supposed to be back on the 10th of March, but Swami prolonged my stay until tomorrow. I think that we are also going through a clinical trial. Long ago, I heard that they say that there are two kinds of people, one group who has seen the Taj Mahal and the other group who haven't. But I think the real division is one group who has been exposed to Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba and the other who haven't. And I often wonder, we who have been exposed to Swami, his teachings and his life, how do we separate ourselves, or how are we different from the remaining of the world's population who haven't been exposed to Swami and his teachings? If they did a randomized clinical trials and collected data between these two groups, would they see some real difference in important spiritual topics and matters? Let us ponder over this, that we having been come to Swami's fold, how our lives are qualitatively and spiritually different from those others who haven't. But what do we mean by saying that we are spiritually, how did spiritually it has impacted our lives? What do we mean by that? What are the measures that we can think of when we think that qualitatively and spiritually our lives have been different from that of the others? Of course, by spirituality, many of us think that singing bhajans and Veda chanting, doing Narayan Seva or other service activities are spiritual activities. But to me, I think having lived abroad for so many years and being part of the professional world, I see that spirituality is much more. And I think there are 3 practical benefits that spirituality confers. Especially for this group, these young people, I think what is really important that spirituality should bring to your life is confidence. Swami says that self-confidence is the foundation. And I can tell you, dear brothers, that without self-confidence, it will be very difficult for you to progress in life. And Swami, in his own imitable way, says self-confidence is the foundation, self-satisfaction and self-sacrifice are the walls and the ceilings, and then you build the mansion of self-realization. Very simple. It's so simple sometimes we might miss the point, but I can tell you how important self-confidence is. Just like I'm giving a speech here, in Netherlands, I also gave speech a couple of times to the students of Leiden University. And when I was myself doing my PhD in University of California, I was also teaching students, undergraduate students in California. And I can say one thing, if you please allow me, that I see the level of confidence in Western students of your same age is much more than what I see in India. I'm not talking about this institute, but I've also interacted with young students in Calcutta and other places. Somehow I feel that there is some kind of a shyness, a hesitation to go out and meet the challenges of life, which I see much more in the Western world. For example, if I give a talk to the students in Leiden University or in California, immediately they will ask questions, they will challenge me, and I see that they are much more confident to speak up. So my first message to you will be, please ask yourself that are you growing in your self-confidence as you are imbibing the most wonderful spiritual lessons here. Personally, I feel that what is the source of this self-confidence? So I know all of you, I think one of the best things to talk about is Swami's experience. So let me tell you how did I derive my self-confidence. So brother spoke about all the so-called worldly achievements I have done in my professional life, but I can tell you all of them have been only because of Swami's grace. I don't know how much part I played, but it was Swami's grace. So let me tell you an experience that shaped me from my childhood. So I've been extremely blessed to be born in a family which has known Swami since the early 70s. So my grandparents started coming to Swamis from 1972, and especially my grandmother has been extremely blessed. She had multiple interviews with Swami and many, many experiences. I will share one experience which I did to some of the students when I gave a talk at the hostel. So this happened in 1979. That was the year when my parents got married. So in those years, every year during Guru Purnima, my grandparents would come to Parthi, at least stay for a month. But that year, my parents got married in the month of April. So Guru Purnima comes in July. So that year, my grandfather said that this time we cannot go. First of all, I've spent all my holidays. Secondly, I've spent also a lot of money for the wedding. It will be difficult. But my grandmother was expecting that somehow we will still be able to go. So my grandfather used to work for Life Insurance Corporation, LIC, and every day when he would return from work in the evening, my grandmother would expect that he will perhaps bring the ticket, the railway ticket, and we will go. But my grandfather said, see, this time it's not happening. 5 days before Guru Purnima, okay, by the way, how can I say all these details? Because my grandfather used to write meticulously journals. So I have this bunch of his diaries that he used to keep because he would record everything and every day what would have happened. And because he was blessed with so many experiences, it's really a family treasure that we have. So 5 days before Guru Purnima, my mother was visiting her parents, that means my grandparents' place. At 4 o'clock in the night, there was a knock on the door. But before that, in the night, my grandmother had a dream in which my uncle, who had actually passed away, that's another story, that's how they came to Swami. So my uncle is my mother's elder brother. He passed away at the age of 20 years for cancer. That is how they came to Swami. But anyway, in that dream, my grandmother saw that my uncle is holding my grandmother's hand and pulling her through a very different terrain. And in the dream, my grandmother asks him, son, where are you taking me? And my uncle in the dream answers that I'm taking you to Bhagwan. My grandmother says, it's very difficult. It's not easy. And he answers in the dream that, yes, going to Bhagwan is not an easy path. So that was the dream. She woke up. She shared this dream with my grandfather. It was around 4 a.m. in the morning. At that time, there was a knock on the door. In our home in Calcutta, many of you might have seen there is sometimes a slit in the door where you can drop envelopes. So they go there, there's a knock, and they see that there's an envelope in the floor that has been slipped. So they don't know at 4 a.m. who has come, what envelope. There was a tremendous amount of energy in the house, you can imagine. And when they opened the envelope, there were 2 reserved train tickets from Calcutta to Bangalore. In the name, at that time, there were no computerized system. It was 1979. So 2 reserved railway tickets, 1 photo of Swami's lotus feet, and 1 packet of vibhuti in the envelope. So they immediately see that morning my grandfather goes to his office, tells his boss that this has happened, and his boss immediately gives him leave. So they come to Parthi. The story does not end there. So they are sitting in darshan line, and Swami comes in front of my grandmother and says, Amma Charan Mila, Now, my grandmother is Bengali, so she's not so fluent in Hindi. So she heard the word charan and thought Swami is asking to do namaskar. So she goes to do namaskar. Swami goes back and says, "Nahi amma, ticket mila," and he walks. So these are the kind of stories I grew up with. So that Swami is divine was a given. It was never a matter of faith. It was, and it is just one story. There have been so many other things which I myself have witnessed. But I was going back to courage. So for me, this was my source of courage and confidence. The biggest blessings I think we have as Swami's devotees is that we know that God exists. I remember hearing one discourse where Swami says, I don't understand Telugu, but Swami says, Devudu Nadu. It means God exists. Now really, brother, if you think about this, that if you really believe and have the conviction that God exists, that completely changes everything. The second thing we know about Swami is not only God exists, but God loves us. If God exists, but God was distant somewhere up in the sky, then okay, what does that matter? But not only does God exist, but God loves us. And how do we know? With everything that we see around here. How loving this Swami, this God is, that he built up all of these things because of his love. That brings me to my second experience I wanted to share is that many of you, at least the sirs, have many experiences with Swami, but I had only one personal interaction with Swami in 2001. I was just like you at that time, 20 years old, doing my undergrad in statistics. And though I have made all of this accomplishment, as I said, this was all Swami's grace, I was doing extremely poorly in statistics. Perhaps that was my lowest academic performance when I was doing my BSc in statistics, because it was a difficult subject that time, I found it. And I was not doing well, and then there were other distractions that happens in the 20-year-old boy out in the city. So Swami called me an interview. It was 2001, and my grandmother was there. By that time, my grandfather had passed away. So in 2001, he called me for an interview, and in that interview, Swami spoke for about, 5-10 minutes, and it was how much concern he had for me that I was not studying well, my marks are not well. The first thing he said, Swami, son, what are you doing? I said, Swami, I'm studying in college. No, your marks are very poor. Last time, you did this in the examination, you did not do well, and he was complaining about me to my grandmother. See, this was the first interaction I was having with Swami. I was a BSc student. I had no idea I will do MSc, I will do PhD, and I will do all of this in the future, but he knew. That's the second thing. This God not only loves, he cares for us. He's invested in us. He has a plan in us. What more can we want? Whenever I'm facing challenges, troubles, I think about that, and I know that Swami is with me at every step. And he has shown that, he has revealed that in every step of my journey. So dear brothers, if you can really remember that we have a God who is always with us and guiding us, what more do you need for strength and courage? If the other students who don't have this experience, if they can face life, how much more we should be able to live with courage and confidence. Now, I want to tell here that there is a fine balance between confidence and arrogance, and you have to be very careful. Any idea what is the difference between confidence and arrogance? Confidence is when you think you are better than your circumstances. Whatever life throws at you, I can overcome it. That's confidence. In my understanding, arrogance is when you think I'm better than others. So never think that you are better than others, because then arrogance comes, and the moment arrogance comes, our downfall starts. We go away from Swami. But always have total confidence and conviction that yes, whatever life throws at me, I can overcome and I will be able to achieve my goals. So that's the first thing I think practical spirituality has to offer. The second thing which I feel that spirituality has to offer is the approach that how we face life. That we face life with dignity and with equanimity. Many of you are in college, you will go up, in your real world, so to speak, and I can tell you that there will be challenges in life. Swami used to say that pleasure is an interval between two pains. It is a given. In the Gita, there is a sloka which says, Anityam asukham lokam. So this world is transitory, anityam, and asukham. Even the Buddha says, dukkham dukkham sarvam dukkham. This world will not be satisfying and will not be pleasurable at all times. In fact, my own theory is that we are born because of two reasons. One, because we have past karma. We have done things that we have to face the consequences. We have to take this body. Secondly, we have unfulfilled desires. And for both of them, if we don't know how to navigate, how to face them, we will have to suffer. So dear brothers, I don't want to make you pessimistic, but with my experience, and sirs will be able to tell you more, that be prepared that life will throw challenges. But then spirituality teaches us, gives us the strength to face those challenges with fortitude and with dignity. I live in the West, which is a land of opulence, but one of the biggest challenges is there, the mental health crisis, the number of depressions, the suicides, the substance abuse in the United States and Canada and other Western countries. Drug abuse is becoming an alarming problem. There's a pandemic, or epidemic almost. So, and why is that? Because we are not mentally, psychologically equipped to face life's challenges. The moment something makes us uncomfortable, and this is what I read especially about this Gen Z. Is it Gen Z, you guys? That there's a huge problem, not for you, but generally, that you guys, or that this generation is not resilient enough. So this is what another thing spirituality should teach you. How can you face life's challenges? Now, when I talk about challenges, I want to, I'm in data science. As you heard, I'm heading data science. So everywhere I go, people ask me, sir, what do you think of AI? Because that is the biggest, I think we cannot escape. The world is changing because of the technological advances. It has been changing for the last few decades, but I think now we are almost at a tipping point where things will change enormously. So in my estimation, of course, we have to upskill ourselves. We have to understand the technological changes that's going on. But apart from that, what are the other spiritual things that we would need to face the new challenges that would come? So I see that there are mainly three challenges that is becoming extremely important in the world outside. Number one is the lack of clarity. I think the biggest challenge we have is the distraction that's coming with the proliferation of information that's getting bombarded at us. Right from social media, from ChatGPT, whatever, information, our species have never got so much information that we are getting now. So how do we navigate? How do we have clarity in this profusion of information? So how can spirituality help us in getting clarity? I think clarity has three aspects. The way how you can get clarity is, number one, self-knowledge. You should know what you want. I remember that in that interview, Swami, I was sitting and I was not alone, and there were few other people, and there was one boy from Iran. Iran today so there was one young man. I was 20 years old, and this boy might be 27, 28. He came from Shiraz. He had that scarf, green scarf at that time they would wear from whichever country they would come, Shiraz. Swami was sitting in the corner. Have you guys entered the interview room many times? Many of you, but sir, you might have, right? So Swami's chair was in the corner, and we would sit, and I was sitting right in front of his, at his feet. So Swami turned at him, and I think about this incident because whatever, it's like, this is like the best experience I've had in life, from which I keep on drawing strength and inspiration. So Swami turned to him, and Swami started waving his hand like this, and asked him, what do you want? And this guy was standing. He said, Swami, anything you wish, Swami. And Swami was, no, 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 what do you want? He's still waving his hand. And this boy, he said, watch. The moment he said watch, there was a golden light from Swami's hand and a watch materialized. Swami caught hold of the watch. He asked us, what is the time? I still remember. It was 7:45 in the morning. See, my watch also shows 7:45. He called the boy and gave it. Now, there are two lessons for me. One is Swami can do anything. He has all powers in his hand and he has said that. But the other is, Swami is always asking us, what do you want? If Swami appears in front of you now and asks you, what do you want? Do you have an answer? Do you know exactly what do you want? That is clarity. And I can tell you, having lived with Swami, that Swami is listening to each and every one of our prayers. And each and everything that you want, he will give you, of course, when your karma is right, but then you also have to face the consequences of that. So brothers, have that clarity. What is it that you really want? What is it that you really bring? Each one of us have unique talents and gifts. Each one of us have a unique journey. So having that clarity is really important. Number one, knowing yourself. Number two, to have clarity, what is needed is discrimination. What is right and what is wrong? What is temporary and what is permanent? What is my need and what is my want? What is my desire? So discrimination is also very important to have clarity. And the third thing is a sense of intuition. This is something nobody can teach you. It can only be developed from inside, right? And this world, you see the machines, algorithms, the AI models can do a lot of wonder, but it will not have intuition. That is the spiritual aspect. And that is where I think the more we can develop this power, the more equipped we will be to face tomorrow's challenges. So number one is clarity. That is really needed to develop and to progress in today's world. The second thing that is needed is connection. The other day I took some classes for the economics boys, and one class was about how do you excel in the future, in tomorrow's world, when you guys go out for work. And one topic came out about networking. So we hear a lot that you have to network, connect with people, and all of that. But what is networking basically? Networking is connecting with people. It is not just knowing them, knowing their email ID or LinkedIn profile, but building up real meaningful connection. And real meaningful connection comes, you know how? First you have to give, and only then you will get. You see what Swami used to say, I give you what you want so that you can want what I really have to give you. All of us who have come to Swami, especially, I don't know, even now maybe, he always gives us initially what we want. Swami, who has done better networking than Swami, right? Think about Swami, right? He was born here in this village in 1926, when there was nothing, not even a road. You guys have seen some old pictures. And if you think Swami had all the powers within him, I reflect, not only on what Swami has said, but also what Swami has done, and I try to see, I try to read between the lines. See, Swami was born in 1926. When was this institute set up? The university? I think the university was set up in 1981, right? The Girls' College Anantapur was in 1969, but this institute was in 1981, and the super specialty hospital in Parthi came up in 1991. In 1991, Swami was physically 66 years old. And in 1981, Swami was physically 55 years old, right? Swami's 50th birthday was 1975, so Swami was 55, 56 when the institute came up. Swami declared his avatarhood at the age of 14, 1940. So from 14 until 55, which is almost 40 years, what did Swami do? He invested in relationships. If you read the early days, Swami would go to this devotee's home, that devotee's home, give wedding. He was building relationship because he knew that the relationship I'm building, I will use them when I really start doing my mission and build up my institution. So that is what is needed, connection. And this is really needed even more today, because I can tell you, brothers, I live in the West. The loneliness is the West. You cannot even imagine what in India, because in India we are always surrounded by a crowd. You never get a moment of peace and seclusion. But in the West, people are so lonely. Old people, young people, even between husband and wife, children and mother, there is separation. And I think that's also happening now more and more in India. So one of the biggest challenges that will be in the future is connection. And connection is built on compassion, on understanding, on love. So this will be really a superpower if all of us can develop this power of connection. The third thing, which I think is really in crisis in today's world, and it will be more so, is the crisis of moral leadership. In my understanding, my reading, the last moral leader on a global scale we had was Nelson Mandela. After the death of Nelson Mandela, I don't think we have one leader whom the entire world respects and listens to. So we are having this current conflict in Iran, but there is no one of that moral stature who can stand up to whom everybody will listen. Today's leadership is all about transaction. It's all about I, me, mine. It's all about power. And this is not sustainable. I think from this, if there's any place from which moral leadership has to come, has to emerge, it is this place. And what is really missing in modern, we are more intelligent now. We have more knowledge and information. We have more, even, better power of communication. But what I feel is missing, do you know what? It is what the brothers just chanted 20 minutes ago. This phrase which Swami used to say again and again, na dhanena prajaya na karmana prajaya dhanena tyagena ikena amritatva manushuhu. This spirit of sacrifice is missing. Everybody, and Swami was, Ugadi discourse, they showed Swami says that everybody is running after money and power, which is true. If you see all the leaders who had moral leaders, whether it was Mahatma Gandhi, whether it was Nelson Mandela, Abraham Lincoln, Swami's examples that Swami gives, if you see, they all led tremendous lives of self-sacrifice. And that spirit of sacrifice is missing. But if we can have that, I can tell you, then immediately it will set us apart. And I have seen with Swami, and many of you have seen, that if you really act from a spirit of self-sacrifice, Swami will make sure that you will get everything, even more than you need and than you have thought about. So brothers, I ask you to take this challenge. See where you can do sacrifice, and then see how Swami will give you even 10 times more than you have expected. So these are the 3 things which I feel are missing. And then what I have seen with Swami is that, as I said, right, I mentioned about how Swami have invested in connection. The other thing that I felt that Swami has provided us, that equips us today with the challenges to face, is to embrace our uniqueness. You see, not only about holy men, even if you go all about India, if I can say so, you will hardly find anyone with afro hair. Do you see in India people with afro hair? And think about this young Swami, when Swami was in his early teens, 20s, he completely embraced. He had no qualms about the way he looked and appeared and went about. I remember when, in that interview, this was in 2001, August. And in January of 2001, the second super specialty hospital was inaugurated in Whitefield. So it was just a few months after that. And there was one couple from Chennai. And they said, Swami was saying to them, now I'm so busy, I have so many letters, I have to go, this new hospital has come, it is really keeping me busy. Swami was interacting like that. And this couple said, Swami, yes, the news about that hospital has came out in the newspaper, Swami, in the Hindu and Deccan. The moment they mentioned about news coming out on newspaper, Swami has lost all interest in that conversation. To us, if our name come on newspaper, we would be so happy and eager to know more. Oh, really? What did they say? And all of that. But Swami did not care at all about that. So, Swami was completely focused on embracing his own idea, his own vision, and he went ahead with it. He often said that imitation is animal, creation is divine. What we see, and that is something I will say I really like in the West, because what I have seen, I have lived in Germany, now I live in the Netherlands, that they are really proud to speak and talk and do everything in their own language. In English, we still have a mentality that if we don't speak English, that we are not educated enough. I don't know about here, but at least outside, at least in Calcutta, I have seen that people feel shy to speak in Bengali. And what did we see in Swami? All his discourses Swami gave in Telugu, even when there were people from all around the world. Of course, there are stories when Swami spoke with people from Mexico. I have heard it. Swami used to speak in their own language with them. But otherwise, Swami used to speak. So this is really another lesson that we have to learn, that we have to embrace our own unique identity. That is what another lesson I get from Swami. And that would also make us successful in the world outside, because more and more the world is becoming very similar. Because everybody is consuming the same information out there. Everybody is reading the same, watching the same reels. Everybody is reading the same thing that is coming out from the ChatGPT, and everybody is trying to become, there's a homogenization going on around the world. So if we can stand out and be our own selves and provide our own unique gifts, that would immediately set us apart. What is the other thing I have observed from Swami is that Swami always used to have a vision. Like every birthday, Swami would announce, like in 1990, he announced that in 1991 he will set up a hospital. And then one year he said that next year there will be the water project. So Swami was always thinking ahead about one project after another. He was always having a big vision. But as long as he had the big vision, but he also was taking care of the minute things. So in corporate world, we say that this is the helicopter vision and also zooming in. So zooming in and zooming out. So this is another very important characteristics that would be needed in the future tomorrow. Your ability to look at the broad, big picture as well as to go into the fine details. So let me share another example that I will share with you the things that I observed during my interview. So there was another family in that interview, and there was an old grandmother who it seems had gallbladder operation. So Swami inquired after them. So the grandmother was there with her son and daughter-in-law and her grandson. Her grandson was about my age at that time. So Swami inquired, and it seems they were talking in Telugu, so I could not follow because I don't understand Telugu. But it seems that they were very old-time devotees. So Swami was talking with them very intimately. So Swami asked, so she had gallbladder operation, so Swami was inquiring, when did it happen, which doctor, is there pain, which medicine you are taking, just like an elder in the family inquires about the well-being of yours. Swami was taking care. It was so nice to see this human aspect, because frankly, I have only seen Swami's cosmic form. I have not seen Swami's physical human form, so it was such a pleasure, and it's still so vivid in my mind. And then Swami created a container filled with vibhuti. He opened the container, it was a silver or golden, and it was brimming with vibhuti. And then comes the most interesting part. He could have given the container to this old lady. What did Swami do? So beside Swami's chair, there was a window, and inside the window rills, there were few envelopes. You might have seen video where Swami will accept letters from the devotees, and then he would sometimes, I think, keep the envelopes there, which envelopes could be still used later on. So Swami created that vibhuti container. Then he picked up that envelope from behind the window, and he put the container in the window, in the envelope. He folded it so nicely and with so much care, and then he handed it over to the lady. So this was an amazing life lesson, that whatever you do do it with utmost care and concern. Just don't do it casually. See how you can make it really nice and perfect. So I'll give you an example to show you what I mean. Can all of you put your hands up? All of you put your hands up? Now put a little more up. Did you see? That is what I was taking. So when I said put your hands up, you all did, but you could do a little more. Right? Which you did not do. And that is how we approach work. This is the lesson I learned from Swami, that when we do something, we are not doing 100%. We are doing 90%. So there is always an opportunity to do that extra 10%, which Swami taught us to do. And which will differentiate you, I can tell you, brothers, because everybody else in the world will do that 90%, just like you did. If you do that 10% extra, people will notice. So whether in your studies or later on in your professional life, you get a project, you do it, then spend, okay, can I do it 10% more? Remember this example that I showed you, and you can do, I can tell you, and that will differentiate you. So this is the second thing, how Swami could zoom in and zoom out. Think about Swami's vision, right? To even think of creating a super specialty hospital in the 1990s in India at that time, what a grand vision it was. To build a university with free education from undergrad, from KG to PG, what an amazing vision at that time. Of course, in 2026, many things are happening in India. As they say, this is new India, but to think of these things in the 70s and 80s is unimaginable. Then the third thing which I have observed in Swami is Swami's way of integration. You see, what is unique thing about Swami's ashram, if I take a look back, okay, I'm Swami's devotee, but I also go to Belur Math because I'm from Calcutta. I go to Ramakrishna Mission. When I'm not visiting Patti, I go to other ashrams. You know what is a unique thing about this? You will not find anyone with saffron-clad monks. No sadhus and sannyasis here, at least externally. All are wearing white shirt, pant. Many are married, many have family, some have not married. So this is Swami's model of spirituality. As he said, hands in the society, head in the forest. You do not have to live everything and become a monk. In today's world, spirituality is about what you do in the society and how you feel in your heart. This is what I think separates Swami's model of spirituality from many other models. Think about the institutions he built, whether it was super specialty hospital where he is providing Western medicine, which is the most modern, up-to-date kind of, and I am also in Western medicine doing research, right? Of course, there is Ayurveda, but Swami built up an university system which is giving the most secular education as well as having the spiritual heart. So Swami is all about balancing both sides, the secular and the spiritual, the West and the East. So this is what Swami expects us to do also when we go forward and take up our lives, that we stay in the society, we do whatever we have to do, we take care of our family, but we remember that our real goal is spirituality, is spiritual upliftment, is to face life with dignity. So remember spirituality, I said courage, and then I said to face life with dignity and fortitude. The third thing that I want to talk about is what is the final goal of spirituality. For this, what I would do is, I have brought it. I have this, which I wanted to share with you. So this is an amazing piece of document which is very well preserved, and I'm sure many of you have already read it. So this is the letter Swami wrote to his brother when he was your age, 20 years. Have you read this letter? Yes. Now you see, I will read this letter, little part of this letter, and then you see whatever I said, how is related to this. In 1947, May, when Swami was 20 years, your age, and you can relate, all of you, how many of you are in that 20, 21 years old? Majority of you. Now think, you are in 2026, living in a world connected with internet, you have all the information, you have gone to the university, and here is this, forget Swami is God for a minute, okay? Forget about that. Think about a 20-year-old boy in this village, 100 years ago, almost 180 years ago, writing this letter to his brother, his own brother who was doubting him. Forget about devotees and rest of the world. His own brother was thinking, what is this boy doing? And a 20-year-old boy in this village writes, I have a task to foster all mankind and ensure for all of them lives full of ananda. To foster all mankind, not all Indians or all people from Anantapur. I have a vow to lead all who astray away from the straight path again into goodness and save them. I am attached to a work that I love, to remove the suffering of the poor and grant them what they lack. I have a reason to be proud, for I rescue all who worship and adore me aright. I have my definition of devotion that I expect those who are devoted to me to treat joy and grief, gain and loss with equal fortitude. This means that I will never give up those who attach themselves to me. Now think a 20-year-old boy writing these words to his brother. What immediately jumps out is what I was saying, the clarity that Swami had about his mission. The confidence he had about what he wants to achieve in his life. And also, he mentioned about the connection. He said that I am attached, I have a reason to be proud. For I will rescue all who worship and adore me. So he was making a promise that I will rescue all who adore and worship me, and I will never give up those who attach themselves. So that was his promise, but he also made clear what was his expectation. I have my definition of devotion, and I expect those who devoted to me to treat joy and grief, gain and loss with equal fortitude. And what was the first sentence? I have a task to foster all mankind and ensure for all of them lives full of ananda. And that was my last thing I wanted to say. The goal of spirituality is to live lives of ananda. Because if we get everything, but we don't have an ananda, then what is the fun? And Swami has said that the definition of happiness, though happiness is not a good translation for ananda, but Swami has said that the definition of happiness is union with God. And as I said, with Swami, we know that God exists and God loves us, and that there is a way to access and feel that love and experience that love. I often think that, Swami's love is like the water vapor. It's always there, but to experience that water vapor, so if I have to manifest the water vapor, what do I have to do? How do I observe that? Do you all agree there is water vapor in this room? But how do can we see that? So to see that, what do we have to do? If we keep a glass of cold water, then what will happen? The water vapor will condense, it will manifest, right? It is the same thing with Swami. If we can fill our hearts with the coolness of love and surrender. That has been my experience. There are two things that Swami really wants, my experience. One is unflinching love and surrender, Sharanagati. That is also the last teaching that Lord Krishna gave to Arjuna, and it's really fascinating. You see, in chapter 4, you've all heard these words. Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. All of you have heard these words? right? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam dharmasya tadatmanam sijamyaham. So whenever there is a decline in dharma, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati, I incarnate from age to age, right? So the Lord incarnates whenever there is a decline in dharma. So Krishna says this in chapter 4. And the last message, if you read the Gita chapter 18, the very last message that Krishna gives, what is it? Sarvan dharma parityajya mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebho mokshayashmi masucha. So sarvan dharma parityajya, surrender all dharma at my lotus feet and take refuge. So the dharma for which he has come to establish, he is telling to give up all that dharma and take refuge in him. Because the final dharma, what is even beyond dharma is surrender. Of course, it's a journey. And to reach that state, we have to go through dharma. It's not that I'm speaking to give up dharma, but the final stage is to give up and to surrender to him. I will end with another verse, the Gita, as you say, it's really something that gives me a lot of strength and inspiration and shows me how to lead my life. The last thing I will end with is the very last verse of the Bhagavad Gita, which is not spoken by Arjuna, which is not spoken by Krishna, but which is spoken by Sanjaya. This is the very last verse, and which I think is very revealing. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Srir Vijayor Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. What does it mean? Wherever there is Yogeshwara, wherever there is Lord Krishna, and wherever there is Partha, then in my opinion there will be opulence, prosperity, and victory and righteousness. Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So brothers, what I would like to end with is, in my experience with Swami so far, is that life is a doubles game, where we play our part and the Lord plays his part. And I can assure you that he is an amazing partner. He will never let your ball slip. If you only have that faith and that conviction and that surrender, and with that conviction and determination, go ahead and face your life. And I can assure you, you will get all the things that I've said, courage, fortitude, and ananda in your life. With this, I will end, and I will, because Swami has given this opportunity, I thought I will be really courageous today and end with a bhajan. I'm not a bhajan singer, so if I go off tune, please forgive me, but I cannot give up this opportunity of not singing a bhajan, which is very dear to me. Hari Anandamaya Jaya Narayana. Hari Anandamaya Jaya Narayana. Vasudeva Nandana Radha Jivana. Vasudeva Nandana Radha Jivana. Paramananda Madhava. Paramananda Madhava. Hari Anandamaya Jaya Narayana. Sai Anandamaya Jaya Narayana. Vasudeva Nandana Radha Jivana. Paramananda Madhava. Paramananda Madhava. Hari Anandamaya Jaya Narayana.
Om Shri Sai Ram. On behalf of all of us, I offer a heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Devashide for that deeply insightful and inspiring talk. I'm sure it was a really inspiring and engaging talk for everyone present here. Your reflection on living with clarity and courage, anchored in Swami's teachings, have given us much to reflect upon. In a world where the young generation is often clouded by uncertainty, your word served as a gentle light reminder that clarity is the lamp that guides our thoughts, and courage the strength that carries us forward. As students of Sai, we should even so more not neglect putting that extra 10% of effort in anything we do. Through your experiences and insights, you helped us see how Swami's values are not just ideals to admire, but pathways to live by. We are truly grateful for the time you have taken to be with us today and for sharing not only your wisdom, but also your personal journey shaped by Swami's guidance. Now I request our director, sir, Dr. Raghunath Sharma, to kindly come up on the stage and offer a token of love and appreciation to Dr. De. Thank you once again, Dr. De, for this enriching and uplifting session. We hope to continue learning from you in the days to come. We will close today's session with Mangal Aarti. I request our guest speaker to offer Mangal Aarti to Swami. Thank you, Sai Ram.
ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वर ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपति स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपति आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद बांधवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे मात पिता गुरुदैव मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा नागेन्द्र शयना ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप जस्वी साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती मंगल मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण सत्य नारायण 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 सत्य नारायण नारायण सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा ओम शांति 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 समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।